Hello YouTube, today we're going to do a complete fish room tour. I was looking back on my channel and noticed it's been about 8 months since I've done one. I can't believe how long it's been. Certainly overdue, so stay tuned. Alright, standing out in the hallway, we're just going to walk right in and do like a quick overview. There's my stool that some of you may have seen me break when I was sitting on it. That was pretty awesome. Do the quick walk around. Yeah, we're gonna have a tough time looking at that tank there. Maybe some of these other tanks on the floor just because I got stuff sitting on the floor. Certainly not clean by any means, but I figured I'd put it off long enough. Gotta do it. Bite the bullet. Some of these tanks are gonna be not very spectacular, but none of these are show tanks, so don't expect too much. Alright, so we can start right here, the first 40-gallon Planet tank. Now we're going to get a ton of glare throughout this whole thing. I apologize, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't even know how many tanks are in here. So we're just going to have to kind of deal with it. I'll try to do the best I can. So the first tank we're looking at, just a 40 breeder on a double 40 breeder Lowe's stand. A lot of people have seen this one. It's got the huge Crypt Florida Sunset. And I've been propagating it and kind of spreading it. Trying to get a lot of people want this plant, so I'm just trying to grow it, but it grows slow. Got the Pygmy Rainbow in there, the derpy Pristilla Tetra, normal Pristilla Tetra, neon Tetra. I think I saw a rubber lip Pleco. Oh yeah, hanging down here in the corner. This is running off a canister filter and a huge bottle of CO2. This is going to be the only tank in the fish room that has CO2. None of these plants really require it, but I got it, so I figure why not. I've had it for about a year, never had to refill it, so I've definitely got my money's worth. Now I'm going to be going through these tanks pretty quickly, so if you have any questions, you know where the comment section is. Ask away and I'll do my best to answer. See if we can get a different look at it here. Of course, now we got all the window glare. This plant right up front is Dwarf Chainsword, Bucephalandria, Lobelia cardinalis, I believe. There's Bacopa monterey, stargrass in the, no, not stargrass, guppy grass in the back. And that's about it for this tank. The substrate is a mix of Eco-Complete, fluorite, aqua soil. This tank has been redone so many times that there's just a little bit of everything in there. And then we come down below. Oh, lighting is the Fluval 2.0 Fresh and Plant. Then we'll come down below. Lighting on this is the Finnex Stingray. This is just a Lake Tanganyika tank. I have my Parasiprochromis blue neons in here. And then the Mystery Cyprochromis, which is, here's a male. Starting to color up nicely, but this is a pretty good colony of blue neons, I feel. One of 2 colonies that I have. I don't see a lot of fry in here. There's a couple over here. Alright. So I'm still getting some fry out of here, so that's good. Let's see if we can get a good shot of some of the males. This is a fish that when you hit the light just right, it looks freaking amazing. And even without the light though, you can still kind of see the blue neon. Definitely helps to have it under the right lighting, the right angle. Like I said, this is Lake Tanganyika, so the pH is like 8.5. And the sand, we just got just regular sand. There's crushed coral mixed in here, kind of. And then the plant is just Dwarf Sag. Nice rock pile. This is filtered with just 2 sponge filters. Alright, pretty exciting. Get up off the floor. Come over to the 125-gallon tank. Of course, I was moving around all the lights. Let's see if I can make this look a little better. Alright. So I can step back without tripping on anything. Again, dealing with lots of glare here. This is a 125-gallon tank that I just redid a couple weeks ago. Well, maybe a little bit longer now. Mainly rainbow tank, but as you can see, there's Denison barbs or the Roseline shark. A ton of different rainbows. This is a Honduran red point. A lot of people get this confused with a convex cichlid, but you can kind of see the red. Hopefully, I don't know if that's picking up on camera. It is a Honduran red point. The female is in the cichlid stone there. They are spawning right now. Here is the big red rainbow that everybody loves. Hopefully he'll get under the light for us. Oh, another light just went off. These are rainbow shiners, these little guys here. What else do we have in here? Some loaches schooling around there. Bala Shark, yeah. Token Bala Shark. There are 4-spot splash tetras. We're probably gonna have to come down here. Well, they would not focus on the glare. Lots of Parkinsoni rainbow that I dumped in there not too long ago. Yeah, it might be hard to pick up the 4 spots. They're up there in the glare. But tank is doing well. The plants are kind of settled down. I had to redo this tank because I had a lot of cichlids in here that were just beating up the plants, so I had to get rid of them. The only ones I kept were the Honduran red points because they don't bother the plants at all. So now I'm just kind of in waiting mode, letting everything grow back into its place. Now the lighting on here, these are all various Finnex light fixtures. The 2 in the back are 2 36-inch Planet Plus. This is a ray, or no, a monster ray, and then a ray 2, both 48 inches. I got a hang-on back filter over here, mainly just to help with water circulation. Main filtration is the FX6, which is down here. It does not fit in the stand, so it goes on the floor. I have the circulation pump unplugged. I'm not sure why, so I have to get that plugged back in. And I think that's just about it. Oh, substrate on this is a mix of river rock, gravel, and more of the Cemex lapis luster sand. So then we move over to the right, more light fixtures just hanging against the wall there, but whatever. I will be removing all the bleeding heart tetras, kind of lessening the bio load. As you can see, it's causing all kinds of diatom algae in here. And got a little betta hanging out in here, just chilling for a second. What else do we have in here? There's a whole ton of panda cories just everywhere in here. That's really cool. After a water change, they'll all start schooling around. Bloodfin tetras in the back. Gold face electric blue rams. Pretty neat. Don't see those very often. There are a few different types of Plecos in here. I don't know if we can sneak around here maybe. No. I don't think we're going to see them. There's also stir-by cories in here and Corydoras pulcher. And I think that's it for this tank. Is a Finnex Stingray and just the lapis luster sand. Pretty much this sand is going to be in every tank except for the one I'm going to now. So this is a dirted tank capped with just more of the river rock. Camera's not really picking this one up that well, but we have Emperor tetras in here. Here's an L91-3 beam Pleco. More stir-by cories. Lots of stir-by cories. Here we go, here's some Plecos. Some L200 green phantom Pleco. And then there's also, oops. Well, there's a Sultan Pleco. I forget how many are in here. There's 4 or 5 of them in here. You can kind of barely see one poking out there. Absolutely one of my favorite Plecos. They got the nice polka dots and they got the white stripes on their fin. Oops, you can barely see that one. Oh, the other thing we have in here are golden dwarf cichlids. No breeding action out of them yet, but I imagine once these plants start taking off, this tank's only been set up for about a month and a half. See, I'm dealing with algae. Pretty common when you start up a new tank, and there's just not very many plants in here. This little guy here pretty much completely died off, but barely starting to come back. One little lonely guy all the way over here, so looks like it's rebounding. Hopefully this should take off here pretty soon. And then lighting on here is just a Beamsworks LED off of eBay. Just trying to keep this cheap and see if we can pull it off. But more to come on that one. You'll have to stay tuned and see how well that one does. Then we'll come over here and we have this stand is built for a 5-foot tank, but it's got a 75-gallon standard tank on there, and then I got my air pump that powers all the, well, most of the filtration in this room. So here, this is always a hard one to shoot, but one of my favorite tanks. This is a 75-gallon, like I said, Lake Tanganyika Biotope. Juliochromis malariae, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Laedalupi, there's yellow calvis, we have Cyprochromis, Utinta. Again, really hard to see. There are shell dwellers in here too. Seeing if I can find any. They're gold ocelotus. There's just one pair. Oh, there he is down here in the corner. There's the male. The male is just a little bit bigger. Well, quite a bit bigger than the female. That's how I tell them apart. Let's see. And of course, the only thing that's not Lake Tanganyika is the bristlenose pleco in there. Doing some work on some algae. The only filtration in here is a sponge filter on that side. I do have a canister filter, or a hang-on back filter, I should say, over here. There you go. There's the gold ocelotus. Lighting is just a 4-foot Finnex Stingray. Some Anubias. This is jungle val, kind of carpeting the whole tank, and then a Panagitan in the back. So yeah, this is probably one of my favorite tanks in the fish room currently. Then we'll head down to a nice yellow tank. It's the only light bulb I can find when the one that was in here burnt out. Just haven't replaced it yet. And this is a 20-gallon tank with mascara barbs. Way too small of a tank, but this is just a temporary home. These are going to someone else, hopefully next month. So not too much longer, they gotta stay in here. And then Honduran red point fry from the adult pair that was in the 125-gallon tank. And there are some leucistic ones in here. There you go. So yep, just a regular old sponge filter in there, and that's pretty much it. Nice yellow light. Just keeping it nice and ugly. Then I got a tote that we're not going to be able to see what's in here, but there is a turquoise jeweled cichlid in here somewhere. Won't be able to see it. It's going to make it hard to film this tank here. So this tank here has the Pygmy Rainbows, and then also a breeding trio, probably down here in the tube. Well, of course, now that I'm actually looking, yeah, there's a breeding trio of super red bristlenose plecos in here, but normally the male is sticking out of that tube. Maybe he's actually in there guarding some eggs. The dwarf neon rainbows, one of them is still sickly. He's a trooper though, he's been trying. Here's another male here so you can get a good shot at him. And then there's 3 males, 2 females. Here's a female over here. Hopefully this guy can pull through. He's not looking good. I've been treating this for a couple weeks now. So speaking of the super red bristlenose plecos that we don't see in that tank, we'll come over here and look at the fry and notice right away, look what we got here. Bristlenose pleco eggs. That's pretty cool. I have to scoop those out. Orange shrimp. So this is a 37-gallon acrylic tank. It's sitting below another 75-gallon African cichlid tank, but we'll get there in a second. This is a Finnex Stingray Light. One sponge filter over there, another sponge filter over there, and we have longfin white cloud minnows, panda guppies. There's also pom-pom crabs in here, but I don't know if we're gonna see them. They definitely like to hide. Hey, buddy. Whoa, buddy. Alright, I am back. I don't know if you guys caught that, but the bristlenose plecos were chomping down on their eggs. So pulled those out of there. Let's see, we got some more orange shrimp over here. I don't know if the camera can see him. He's under there. We got another one over here. What else do we have in here? More orange shrimp over there. Let's see, there are actually some black tiger batis. I don't know if we're gonna see them either. There's a female down there. Briefly saw her, there she is. There's about 4 or 5 of the black tiger batis in here. They kind of chomp down on the shrimplets, I should say. So that's why I put the shrimp in there, specifically for that reason. So far the shrimp have been able to outproduce what they eat, so it's working out pretty well. But yeah, just another planet tank with a bunch of smaller fish in there, which is pretty cool, I feel. And then we'll come up and check out the 75-gallon African cichlid tank. I should really turn off this light right here. I swear that's causing all the glare. But we'll get back to the fish. Here we have laticeps. I don't remember the full scientific name on that, but that's part of it if you want to look it up. This is just kind of a mix of a lot of different stuff. The Starfire Cichlids, 2 males, there's 1 female in there. They're starting to really get some color on them. There's 3 different types of Synodontis in here. Oh, and we actually have one hiding back over here. This is the Synodontis pleurops. Then you have the Synodontis lucipennis, which is the dwarf petricola right here. And I'll probably drop some food in here for everyone so we can see the Synodontis brachardi. Alright, got some food in there. We'll see if we can coax them out. There is one back here in the glass. Definitely the biggest one in here. There's two of them. I'm not sure if they're male or female. But usually they do start to come out. Here he comes. Come on. Oh. They have a really nice yellow stripe to them. Generally not very shy. We do have another bristlenose pleco. You can kind of see the bristles there. These are the Neolamprologus tetracephalus, I think. My breeding rusty cichlids are in here. There was a ruby green haplochromis. There he is, getting chased off. Normally the food does make those Synodontis come out, but I guess not today. Oh, there he is right there. There you go. And he's gone. That's all you get. Okay, moving right along. We've got a bunch of trash, bunch of boxes, and then we come to the 30-gallon long, another planted tank. Planted with planted with stargrass, dwarf hairgrass, more stargrass, a big old mound of moss. This is Rotala species blood red. Then we have various pieces of Anubias tied to wood over here on the rocks. This is Java moss over here. I don't remember what kind of moss this is. As far as stocking, we got Ember Tetras, neon green Erasboras, which are awesome. Blue pearl shrimp. I'll have to back up so I can zoom in on these. There's just an absolute ton of the blue pearl shrimp in here. You see them all the way through this grass. The substrate is Mr. Aqua Aquarium soil. The lighting is 2 Finnex Array 2s. There is a sponge filter back there. And then a hang-on back over here with a pre-sponge intake to keep all the shrimp from getting sucked up. See if we can get a kind of a better overview look here. Sorry about all the glare again. I can't apologize enough. Now you will notice that I keep this tank with a perpetual algae bloom. A lot of people give me crap, but I don't care. I think it looks awesome. I like that hazy look to it. Water parameters are perfect. You can see the plants are just doing great. Fish are doing great. Shrimp are breeding, so there's nothing wrong. I just like the way it looks, especially when the sun is shining through the window in the morning. It looks just awesome. So that's pretty much the short and curlies of this tank. We'll head down. We got another 40 breeder down here. Let the camera catch up. So like I said, another 40 breeder. We have the Tropheus in Conde Yellow. Probably about 10 of them in there, and then the Cynotilapia Lion's Cove Afra are these guys here. Pretty active tank, really fun to watch. I keep a spotlight. This is like a par, I don't remember, it's like a par 34 LED spotlight. It's how I think I found it on Amazon. A 36-inch Stingray, and I keep that spotlight on there to help grow algae for the Tropheus. They love to graze on these rocks. As you can see, they're nice and green. Unfortunately, it also turns the glass nice and green, as you can see, but looks like a bristlenose pleco had its way right there. Nice little chunk taken out. But really digging the Tropheus. They're growing kind of slow. I have upped their feeding and water change a little bit. I was paranoid of bloat. Seems to be a common problem people have with Tropheus that don't know what they're doing, and I certainly don't know what I'm doing, so I'm keeping an eye on them. I think I was just a bit too paranoid and not feeding them enough, so they've been stunted a little. So again, with more of the same sand and just a sponge filter in the back, and that's pretty much it for this tank. And from this tank we can keep moving along. Got the corner of crap over there, and then another cichlid tank over here. This is a 90-gallon acrylic tank, but it is drilled, and I did not cap it before I put it in here, so probably only about 60 gallons of water in here. Got a whole mess of blue dolphins, yellow labs. This is Copetochromis, Borellii, redfin, I believe. Could be wrong, it's been a while. This is a female here. And then we have a Pundamilia species here, another Victorian, who seems to be doing pretty good, not too much of a bully. And this has just been kind of a grow out tank, but everything's getting pretty big. I do plan on eventually, of course I say that and everyone's going to hate me, but eventually upgrading to a 125 gallon tank that I do have. The yellow labs are breeding in here, and I think that's it. I haven't really seen any breeding. The Copetochromis are definitely big enough. I don't know why they're not breeding. And just the random female Cyprichromis. I have no idea what kind she is, so I cannot add her with my other Tanganyikans. Another Haplochromis here, female. And then there's also some blue torpedoes. Here's the male. Getting some nice color on him. Don't get in too close, we start seeing all the algae. So yeah, just a grow out tank for now, eventually being upgraded to a 125. Alright, then I can pick myself back up off the floor and come up here. I got a couple tanks. These are 2 quarantine tanks for when I get new fish. I haven't got new fish in a long time, so right now there is just a betta in each one of them. If we can get a good shot of them, I don't know. Got some nice ivory colors, some blues to them. This one is... there he is. So just a couple Dumbo ear bettas in here, just hanging out, using up the quarantine tank, keeping the cycle going. Sorry about the fast pan. I got another one in here. Let's see if we can see him. More of just a white, blue, purplish type of color. Then we got the mystery snail tank over here. So as fast as these guys breed, they actually make really good puffer food, and that's kind of what they get used for. Unless somebody messages me and says they want some, I'll mail them some. Otherwise, they are all just puffer food. So one of the questions I get asked a lot is, what do I feed my fish? And if you want to pause the video and take a look at the various food I got here, that's kind of what I feed. A lot of new life spectrum, aquarium co-op food. I'm loving the new bug bites, crab cuisine for shrimp and snails, and crabs. And then a lot of frozen foods, and also a ton of rapashi, but I keep that upstairs in the kitchen. And speaking of snails as puffer food, we can come over to the puffer tank. Don't mind the hang-on front filter. Here is Little Steen, the Maboo puffer. Doing really good. He's doing really well, trying to get a good shot of him without the glare. Just kind of floating around, hanging out. He's in here with some Dwarf neon rainbows, or the Plecos rainbow. This is just another 40-gallon breeder. He will be getting upgraded very soon. He's quickly outgrowing this now. And I don't really aquascape this at all. So we just got kind of plans wherever they grow is where they grow. And I'm perfectly alright with that. I like the jungle look, the kind of messy jungle. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but I like it, and that's all that matters. And there he goes. So, come down below, and we got more cichlids. Seem to go from planet tanks to cichlid tanks and back and forth. Alright, so we have another species of Copetochromis here. I believe, this is a mouthful and I'm probably getting it wrong, but Copetochromis Copetochromis trewavase mulatto lacomo, something like that. I'm sure I'm just butchering the crap out of that. Alright, and then we have the Pseudotropheus aurora, which is one of my favorite Pseudotropheus, although I don't think it's a Pseudotropheus anymore. I think they changed the name, or changed the classification, whatever. But I still call it that because that's what I bought it as, that's what I know it as. And that's the dominant male. There's the female, one of many. This is actually a wild caught bristlenose pleco from Colombia. You can see the pattern is just a little bit different than all my other ones, so that's pretty cool. There's, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 of them in here, I'm not sure. And again, as you can tell, this is just filtered by a regular old sponge filter, and I mean by you can tell is you can see all the particles in the water because there's no mechanical filtration, and they constantly dig non-stop, so it's constantly churning up the particles. And you know, it's just a grow out tank. Like I said, none of these are really like show tanks, so it doesn't really bother me too much. Alright, and then the final stop of this fish room tour is going to be my island tanks, well, what I call island tanks because they're right in the middle. And we'll start with the poop tank. I call it the poop tank because this thing is full of plecos and they love to poop. I don't know if we're going to get any good shots of them. There is one back there. There's lots of wood in this tank, so between the poop and the tannins, it can get kind of hard to see them. There is an L183 Starlight Pleco. Again, really hard to see him. Of course, I got a bunch of glare. It's looking at me, apparently. Over here, we have the Spatula Arcaria Whiptail Catfish. Let's see, there's probably 15 Plecos in here. You can see the outline of one right there. Really hard to see. This one's coming a little bit forward. Go around to the other side. I do have an 800 gallon per hour power head in there. There's also some leftover, if we can find any, multifasciatus shell dwellers from when this used to be a shell dweller tank. Some of the fry I missed and they're growing out in here. I don't know how, because the pH in here is a lot lower than what they like, seeing how it's a Pleco tank and not a Lake Tanganyika tank. But somehow they're surviving in here, so good job to them. Well, we can get a better look. This is a blue Phantom Pleco, although we're not going to see it. Barely. There's another Pleco hanging out under the sponge filter. Yeah, it's really hard to pick up the Plecos in this tank. Normally what I do is come out around midnight and look at them with the moon lighting on. Oh, here's one right there. Little itty bitty shell dweller fry just growing out with the Plecos. Hi, little fella. There's about 6 of them in here, surprisingly. Here's another L183. I see the tail sticking out. Okay. Easy to spot with the white seam on the fins there. Oh, sure would be nice if we could get a good look at some Plecos, though. Well, I just don't think it's in the cards for us to see some Plecos today, so we'll go down to the 55-gallon breeding fish for profit tank. So this is a 55-gallon Guppy, cherry shrimp, and Pleco breeding tank, filtered with just 2 sponge filters. It has a Costco LED light on it, Java moss carpet along the bottom, guppy grass. I don't know why I always get them confused, but guppy grass floating on top. And this is a mixture of red Delta guppies and like a pineapple sunset, I don't even know, type of guppy. So basically they're just mixed fancy guppies now because I did mix 2 strains. You can see lots and lots of snails in here. That's done on purpose. More snails to feed the Maboo puffer. But lots of breeding action in here. You can see all kinds of cherry shrimp just everywhere in that moss. So this is definitely a good way to help supplement. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. I didn't even see them up here. There's 2 adult Plecos just hanging out in this clump of guppy grass and Java moss. I've never seen that before. Just 2 of them hanging out in there. That's kind of funny. But anyways, what was I saying? Something about being a good way to supplement the hobby with some income. This pays for just about all the food I could ever want for this entire fish room. So it's a pretty dang good deal. And it's still fun to look at. There's so much going on in here that it's still a pretty fun tank. Alright, and then we'll get up and walk around to the other side, to the other 55-gallon tank. And the last tank was planted, so that must mean we have a cichlid tank. I said that I had 2 colonies of the blue neons. Here's the other one. There are also the tricolor cyprochromis. What is it? Jumbo tricolor something cyprochromis. I don't know. I have it written down. If you really want to know, just ask in the comments. I'll look it up. It's another one of those cichlids that have like 5 names. They have to include the scientific name and the collection point and all that jazz, so I never remember it. And then we have some sand sifters down here, 4 of them, and I don't know if we're going to see them, but there is the token bristlenose Pleco in here. Lots of algae on this tank. It doesn't bother me. I only keep one side lit so the fry can have a nice little comfortable spot to hide over here in all this mess. And I don't know if we're going to see any fry, but there are fry in here. They're normally pretty skittish as soon as I come around. I usually have to sit here for a while before they come back out. So honestly, nothing too exciting here. Just, you know, the Cyprichromis and the Paracyprichromis. Pretty much any Lake Tanganyikan fish takes forever to grow out. So yeah, this is the last tank on the tour. Nothing special about this tank as far as the hardscape. This is basically just a place I throw a bunch of extra pots and rocks, and you know, this is just another grow out tank, so it's not supposed to be anything special. I do breed the Paracyprichromis in here, like I said, but honestly, they don't really need anything special to breed. The hardest part about this fish is actually getting them shipped in alive. I had to do 3 separate orders from 3 separate people before I actually got them in alive, so definitely was a struggle to get those in. It's been a long time. I needed to get it done. If there's any questions you guys have as far as, you know, a big question I get is heating. So I heat the entire room, not every tank. There are a few tanks, like this one right behind me, where right here, that has the electric blue rams in it. They like it in the 80s, so they do get a heater. And then a few of the tanks that have fry in them, they have heaters. I do run a dehumidifier, which keeps the whole room heated. So it's currently 81 degrees in the room, so I don't need to run a heater, which is really nice, saves on a ton of power. And then, like I showed you earlier, I have the central air pump that pretty much powers almost every single sponge filter in this room. So that's how I do that. What else? I think that's it. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. If there's anything else specifically you want to see, leave it in the comments and I'll try to do a video on it. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out with me in my fish room, and we got the live stream on Monday. Hope to see you there. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell icon, share it, upvote, comment, all that good stuff, and I'll see everyone on Monday.